Hi, everyone. So I'm just thinking about this idea of the cult and how startling it can be and upsetting. And again, I'm so sorry about that, but I think it's really important to really focus on what is happening to our children and how their brains are being impacted. I do call it broken brain. I mean, the idea that the coercive controller is trying to create ego compromise in our children so that they do not have agency, so that they don't know what to do in difficult circumstances. So it's easier to align with the person who has more control. It's really much easier to align with the person who has more control. So I would just say that it's really important to understand that these children are very harmed, and that nothing that they are doing is personal against the protective parent. It is just their way of trying to function and to survive. I mean, that's really all it is a survival for them. So it's probably best to not make a big deal out of major like behaviors, and for them to realize that we are able to let those behaviors go. So if we think about the ego compromised brain, the brain that is carrying shame, like the coercive controller, and the coercive controller is trying really hard to create that ego compromise in the children, because if he does that, again, using he because oftentimes it is a he, if he does that, then he is able to retain control. That's his goal, is to retain control. So again, he does not care about the well-being of the children. His goal is only to control and to receive supply from them in some way. And so again, he may be the fun, the loving. He may not be the over-exerting power overtly in the home. That doesn't mean that he's not covertly exerting it. And what he does is he loves to create, of course, triangulation in the home, where he pits one person against another person, for sure. But what he also really enjoys doing is creating contempt in the home. And that is where the children end up having contempt for someone that maybe they had previously felt strongly attached to. And so we're always like, how could that have happened? How could the child that I loved and held in my arms for, and had this wonderful relationship until they were 10 or 12 or 15 years old, how could this have happened? Well, because if a child is hearing a message, even again, not overtly, that the other parent, the protective parent, doesn't love them or care about them in the same way, or maybe just doesn't have as much time for them, or they're so busy. So again, this is done in very covert ways. It's not, oh, your mother hates you, although it might be, right? It's not, oh, your mother is lazy, although it might be. It can be much more nuanced. It can be, oh, it's her. She's going to ruin our time watching TV, or, oh, well, dinner was okay tonight. It's just these little subtle ways to diminish the protective parent. And so the child then, who has this really strong attachment to this healthy person, this protective parent, is going to feel the need to disengage more and more. Because again, that's the role of the coercive controller, is to bring the child over to their side. It's like a tug of war, right? And they're pulling, 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 or again, it's this indoctrination. And so really what's so important is that we do not become defensive, that we do not try to explain ourselves in the same way that we have maybe for years with the coercive controller. We don't want to explain ourselves. What we really, really want to do is just elevate ourselves, not in a haughty way, not in a grandiose way like the coercive controller, who's very, thinks they're the best of everything and they're better than anyone else and everything. But we really just want to be authentic. And you know what? You can call me a name, but I know who I am. You can say I'm a horrible mother, and I know who I am. You can say that dinner's not good, but that's okay. I'll try again next time. In other words, it's like we're wearing armor and the arrows are falling off of us. And the sooner that our child can see that we are not as impacted by either the words of the coercive controller or their own words, because sometimes our children are actually copying those words, the sooner that we can do that, the sooner they begin to see that they can lean on us much more than they thought. But if we are reactive, which, by the way, totally makes sense after all the trauma we've been through, totally makes sense. But if we can get ourselves to being more responsive and coming up with a narrative, our own words, our own voice, having agency, and role modeling that for our children, we are going to show them literally a path to freedom. Literally, a path to freedom. See you later.